for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you don't talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 and they pay.
The World Health Organization states that close to 800,000 persons die by suicide yearly. Every 40 seconds, at least one person is likely to commit suicide. Nigeria has Africa's highest caseload of depression and ranks 15th in the world in the frequency of suicide. World Suicide Prevention Day is a global public health day celebrated on September 10th, which is aimed at commitments and actions to prevent suicide all over the world through various activities and to help raise awareness among people to prevent their loved ones from suicide and mental disorders. The theme of this year's World Suicide Prevention Day is Creating Hope Through Action, which reflects the need for collective action to address this public health issue. According to the training coordinator of a non-governmental organization, Suicide Research Prevention Initiative, suicide rate in Nigeria is underreported or miscoded. This is because suicide is a criminal offense. With the shortage of mental health care personnel, cultural and religious beliefs about mental health and suicide stigma. Some have a misconception of suicide. It is important to not blame suicide victims.
Sometimes when people just sit down and just make statements like those that have attempted suicide, or those that have killed themselves, that they are worthless, they are sinners. No, you shouldn't say such a thing. We as a society, we should begin to build a culture of compassion where we show empathy to people, listen to people not judgmentally, to understand them from their point of view rather than just to respond to them.
She said with love and support, along with professional help, suicide can be prevented.
send them to professionals where they can be properly evaluated, assessed, know the root cause of why they are even suicidal. Suicide is an end thing. It's a bigger picture, but you need to know what this person is even suicidal. And of course, if it's depression is treatable. If it is pain, is it the kind of pain that can be managed? There are painkillers, there are even surgeries to even regulate pain, and there are even non-medication treatment for some of these illnesses. Meditation, yoga, some form of exercises and all that. So it's very key that we put all this on board. Let's not demonize people that have completed suicide. Let's not see them as bad people. Let's not see them as evil people, because anybody can be suicidal depending on your challenges, what you face, and of course from your past experiences.
Given the socio-economic situation in the country, many citizens are reaching their breaking points with the conclusion that they are better off dead. There is therefore an urgent need for both governments and society to pay attention to medical challenges and socio-economic constraints that could trigger people to take their own lives.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
Good afternoon. I am Jacinta Obiuku. This is the news brief. The United Kingdom has clarified that it did not designate the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB as a terrorist organization, describing the report as untrue. The clarification comes after it emerged that the UK sought to exclude IPOB members who have committed human rights abuses from its asylum program. A statement signed by presidential spokesperson Garba Shehu had stated that Nigeria welcomes the decision by the United Kingdom to proscribe the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB as a terrorist. President Muhammadu Buhari has told the Southeast leaders that the court will determine the fate of pro-separatist leader Nnamdi Kanu. The president, while reacting to a demand by leaders of the region who pleaded with him to release Kanu and other Igbo youths in detention across the country, said they are in dialogue with dissident groups in the region with a view to bringing them to a roundtable discussion for return of peace. But Buhari said he holds the view that Kanu's matter should be properly adjudicated in the law court.
I have listened carefully to the various appeals from the elders to the traditional leaders regarding a wide range of options. And as I have said previously, this matter remains in the full view of the courts, where it will be properly educated. My worry is for our hardworking and innocent civilians for whom life is already tough and would like to just go out and earn a decent, honest living. There are many that fit this profile, and the government owes them that obligation to protect their lives and property.
President Muhammadu Buhari has reiterated his order to security agencies to flush out those perpetrating violence in the southeast and other parts of the country. The president paid tribute to members of the Nigerian armed forces who recently lost their lives in the region. He pledged that the federal government would deploy its strength to protect innocent and hardworking Nigerians from terrorists and those causing the breakdown of law and order in the southeast region.
Terrorists who are a certain segment of the population that continue to contribute their hard-earned funds towards their hate-filled messages, but now have them terrorized through their brutal killings, truncation of commercial activities, restriction of freedom of movement, and the ability to exercise basic human rights must be fleshed out from amongst us. I will once again repeat, no one has the right to carry an AK-47 rifle, and anyone seen in any part of the country doing so and is not a law enforcement officer is a threat to our peaceful coexistence and should be treated as such. As we find ourselves in the process of selecting another round of leadership for our country, I have repeatedly insisted that among the many legalities I am committed to ensuring is that of a free and fair elections.
A former governor of Osun State, Bisi Akande, says the Southwest is united and will work to produce Nigeria's next president. He made the comment while speaking to journalists at the end of a meeting of presidential aspirants of the All Progressives Congress APC from the Southwest. Akande said it was agreed that the aspirants should show divisiveness and go about their campaigns with maturity.
The elders of the APC caucus in the Southwest to let you know that we are having, you know, a reason to let you know that we are united on purpose, and the purpose is to ensure that the presidency of Nigeria in 2023 will come to South. Thank you very much.
Language. So, can we ask questions?
No question, except to tell you that all of us must talk to ourselves and to the public with absolute decorum, because we are united.
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has endorsed Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his deputy Femi Hamzat for a second term. Tinubu held up both men's hands after a Lagos APC stakeholders meeting held at the Adeyemi Barrow in the Alausa area of the state. There had been speculation that Mr. Sanwo-Olu wasn't in support of the didn't guarantee a second-term ticket of the party. Tinubu's endorsement may have put an end to such rumors. He popularly believed that to be the state's ultimate political godfather.
Brilliant governor. I say thank you for those 3 hands. And the acting and perform that has done well, even though they are different in height. Obafemi Hamzat, thank you. And thank you especially because a very good assistant. It's a pillar of support. Everything might not satisfy you, but you move along in a positive and understanding manner. That is how to make an unbreakable, unpredictable team.
Leader of Pan-Niger Delta Forum, Chief Edwin Clark, has revealed that southern politicians have been warned not to accept running mate positions from any northern candidate. This is if the APC and PDP refuse to zone the presidency to the south. Clark, who disclosed this in Abuja, said any southern politician that accepts such a position would be regarded as unpatriotic. He also described the growing number of presidential aspirants from the southern part of the country as madness and unrealistic. He said most of the aspirants from the south have declared interest to contest for president in 2023, playing double games. Clark wondered where aspirants from the APC were getting 100 million naira to pay for the forms, considering the level of hunger in the country. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has said that it is monitoring the source of the funds used in purchasing political party forms. The chairman of the EFCC, Abdulrasaq Bawa, said the EFCC was working with the Independent National Electoral Commission to establish the source of these funds. The ruling All Progressive Congress has pegged its presidential forms at 100 million naira, while the main opposition People's Democratic Party sold its form for 41 million naira. Nigeria's former Minister of Education, Obi Ezekwesili, has alleged that the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, handed over the Apex Bank's control to the President Muhammadu Buhari since the latter assumed office. She also alleged that the ill-advised monetary policies of the bank in the last 7 years were political. Ezekwesili's allegation followed the reports that Emefiele picked the All Progressives Congress 100 million naira presidential nomination and expression of interest form. The federal government will resume talks with the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASUU by next week as part of moves to end the lingering strike by the lecturers. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, said this in his opening remark at a meeting with the striking National Association of Academic Technologists, NAT. The minister believes the strikes in the sector were mainly due to economic reasons, and he says with dialogue the solution would be reached. Nigerian airline operators have issued a notice that with effect from Monday, 9th of May, they will shut down their operations due to a high cost of aviation fuel, which has hit 700 naira per litre. The traveling public who intend to fly are advised to make alternative arrangements to avoid being stranded at the country's airports. Over time, aviation fuel price has risen from 190 per litre to 700 naira currently. There seems to be no end in sight to the killings going on in Irigwe land of Basa local government area of Plateau State. The latest was a late evening attack on Chukun and Zama villages that left 8 people dead. When Plus TV News visited the communities, people were seen in groups mourning their loved ones, while others prepared mass grave for the burial. Some eyewitnesses who spoke said the attackers came in the company of men dressed in military fatigues and launched their attack at around 8 p.m.
Those who come and attack this village, some of them have military uniform. That is why we see them and people started around and hide.
All of a sudden, it was 8 to 9 p.m. that yesterday night. Gunshots. For us to recover, we discovered that it was Fulani headsmen with some men putting on a kind of military uniform together with them, with guns, AK-47 and the rest.
And we suspect that the military opened windows for these people to penetrate into our community for this destruction. I want to tell you, we are suspecting the military officers. We are not saying they committed a crime, but they opened windows. If they were not the ones, they were the ones that opened windows, they created ways for these people to come and finish our people. So actually we are suspecting them.
Today we lost about 8 people. Tomorrow we don't know what will happen. So I'm calling to the government to use, we have in our own end, we have made so much effort to see that this thing come to an end by having a meeting with Fulani to tell us what actually we want. And we agreed that this thing should stop, and we made agreement with them, but up to this time, nothing is done. We don't know why.
Government at all levels in the country have been charged to emulate their counterparts across the globe who have since embraced the policies of converting waste to wealth. The Environmental Right Action gave this charge at a one-day summit on waste management with the aim of achieving a zero waste system where waste is transformed to wealth. Speakers at the event believe that government at all levels must step up their games for the actualization of a waste-to-wealth society.
At the level of waste management, a lot of responsibility is reposed on the local government. But how many local governments are rising up to that task? In other places, you have city governments. The local government right now is attending to several cities. And the tendency is that not any of the city gets the attention that it deserves as far as waste management is concerned.
Government will generate revenue from zero waste management. The citizens will gain employment from a zero waste system, and the environment will be cleaner, operating a zero waste, in bringing about zero waste system in Edo State.
We are calling on Edo State government and every government of this nation to shift into building what we call resource sites. A resource site has good engineering structure with different compartments. Now we are calling for waste segregation. Those that segregate waste in their homes, the purpose is being defeated because waste managers comes, they pick up this segregated waste and they mix them up together in their waste truck because it has just one compartment.
Some people will say that the environment is to us alone, given to us by our forebears. And we have the responsibility of putting it to our afterbears, that's to our project, in good shape. So it was given to us by our fathers in good shape. We have a responsibility to nurture it and then hand it over to the next generation. If you bastardize it, your children will be bastardized environment.
The National Commission for Museums and Monuments has launched the Ancient Rock Art exhibition of photos and monoliths that have been existing for decades, found in the forests of southern and northern Nigeria. This project is supported by the U.S. Ambassador's Fund for Cultural Preservation and led by Trust for African Rock Art, TARA. Plus TV correspondent Paul George was at the National Museum, Lagos, and now reports.
The exhibition launch, which had nature enthusiasts from different parts of Nigeria and abroad, showcased a slice of Nigeria's cultural dance by the Cross River Group, entertaining guests. In the gallery is a display of pictures of collections of paintings and monoliths from Ikom, Cross River, Jigawa, and Bauchi states. The Director General of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, Professor Abba Tijani, in his welcome address thanked the U.S. Embassy for supporting the project by funding the project and thereby preserving the country's cultural heritage.
I want to start by expressing my appreciation to the U.S. Embassy for their partnership, but also providing us with funding. The collaboration on rock art, the monolith, the rock paintings in Jigawa and Bauchi is just the beginning. I look forward to more collaboration in areas of digitization and capacity building.
The United States Acting Consul General Brandon Ospert, while assuring Nigeria of their continuous support, said that this partnership will further deepen the ties both countries already have.
Over the past 4 years, we've seen $770,000 of funding going toward preservation projects in Nigeria. In 2017, we funded a project to document the traditional knowledge of the Ifa cultural system in Oyo State. And in 2016, we also conducted a project to build the capacity of Nigeria's museum professionals to improve collections, storage, and display.
The curator, National Museum, Lagos, Omotayo Adeboye, and the project manager of the exhibition, Terry Little, tells us more about the artworks.
The ancient art rock actually represents the heritage in rocks. They are granite rocks which they put coded messages on, and they use it to pass messages to people that are initiates. So if you look at some of those Ikom monoliths, you will see on them some motifs.
We've been working on this project for 2 years, documenting archaeological sites in Cross River State, the monoliths that you see in the exhibition, and then paintings in Jigawa and Bauchi states. I think whenever we're in the field, we work very closely with the chiefs and the community people, representatives, and follow whatever instructions they may give us on how to deal with them. And often, yes, they may pour libation.
The rock art exhibition is billed for a tour from Lagos to the museum in Calabar and in Zaria. And as the event winds down, Consul General Ospert cut the ribbon to officially declare the gallery open, even as estates gathered to feed their eyes with the new collections of the artworks. Paul George, Plus TV News.
As political parties put price tags on the presidential forms for aspirants, Nigerians react to this amount. That's on Street Views. Take a listen.
As a people, these are things that we need to take into consideration when making a choice of a party to support or the candidates to support, because there is consequence to such things being put in place. You don't expect someone that pays a huge price and buys from his pocket to actually then not want to recoup that money. Where do they get such money from to buy just a form where it's not guaranteed you're going to win? So, as citizens, we need to be watchful of that and make our decisions.
It's not ideal, especially if you look at what's going on in the country now. 100 million is a lot of money. I don't want to use the word absorb, but it's a lot of money. And the consideration is, for me, is what's the basis? How did you come about 100 million? I think the other parties are doing 40 million, 35. Even 10 million is a lot of money, given the fact that we're looking for a leader now who doesn't necessarily have to have all the way to do financially, but a leader who knows what it is that the country needs or is expected of him.
They are making the money for the party. The party belongs to the money belongs to the party. So you can never say maybe it's wrong or it's right. Because even though they say it's a trillion. If you have the power, you do it, you pay it.
It doesn't make any sense at all. That's too much. At least should have been like 50,000 at least. Actually, that's too much. 100 million, no. 100 million, 100,000, I don't understand. 100 million, no, that's too much. No, it's too much. No.
If a Nigerian, an individual will bring out 100 million from his purse to buy for form to run for the presidency, meaning that he has trillions of naira in his account. Therefore, EFCC is supposed to go there and find out what is working. If you happen to buy the form too, what are you going there to do? You must bring your money back, put your interest before you think of others.
That's ridiculous. In fact, when I heard the news, and I'm wondering, where do they want like genuine people to actually get this kind of money? People that can afford it are people that are actually stealing. The other time, a certain man did a burial and EFCC invited him over to probe him because of the money he spent for the burial. So EFCC should also invite these ones that are able to buy these forms and then probe them and ask them where they got that money from, because you can't tell me it's not it's genuine. Even if it's genuine, when they enter now, they will want to steal and get back that money.
Other parts of Africa now. Morocco's anti-terrorism police have arrested a man suspected of being enrolled in the Islamic State jihadist organization with a view to carrying out terrorist acts in Morocco in coordination with the US FBI. The suspect operating in Bekain, northeast of the country, would be the Central Bureau of Judicial Investigation, BCIJ, said in a statement involved in the preparation of a terrorist project aimed at seriously undermining public order. Since 2002, Moroccan police have dismantled more than 2,000 terrorist cells and arrested more than 3,500 people in terrorism-related cases, according to the authorities. Outside Africa now. The death toll in a deadly explosion that hit a well-known hotel in downtown Havana, tearing a gash several floors high in the side of the building, has risen to 22, while 74 have been injured. Hospital Services Department head of Cuba's Health Ministry, Dr. Julio Gure Izquierdo, told a news conference before the death toll went up again that about 74 injured people have been received, with 18 of them dead. Health authorities said a nearby school was rattled by the blast with more than 300 students in attendance. Entertainment news now. Harry and Meghan have announced that they will be in the UK with their children for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee next month. They released the announcement just minutes after a palace spokesperson announced that the Queen has banned them and Prince Andrew from the Buckingham Palace balcony during the Trooping the Colour. Harry and Meghan revealed that they will fly in from California with Aki 3 and Lilibet 11 months to attend celebrations marking the monarch's 70 years on the throne that began on June the 2nd. And in sports news, Chelsea FC has said that a group led by Los Angeles Dodgers co-owner Todd Boehly would acquire the London club after agreeing to terms in a deal worth $5.2 billion. The football club said in a statement that the sale is expected to complete in late May, subject to all necessary regulatory approvals. Chelsea's Russian owner Roman Abramovich put the Premier League club on the market in March, just days before he was sanctioned by British government following the invasion of Ukraine. And that's the news update. For more stories, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Jacinta Obiuku. Thanks for watching.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Welcome to another episode of Ladies Talking Business, a business lifestyle show where we break down the concept of business to its simplest form. I am Moremi Akonwo. On today's episode, we will be talking about how to successfully run an education consultancy business in Nigeria with our guest, Ufoma Obademi, a travel professional and consultant. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration management from the University of Sheffield, England. Her work experience started in the UK, where she worked for 3 years as a customer care representative at Nationwide Bank and MacArthur Glen Designer Outlet. Thereafter, Ufoma worked at Morgan Consultancy Services, a regulated Canadian immigration firm. She is currently the founder and CEO of International Bridge Education, a training center for a pre-university program known as Ontario Secondary School Diploma, in addition to other programs such as IELTS, TEF, GED, and IT training. Ufoma is a big believer of consistency and hard work. Her goal is to make Nigerian students integrate into the international academic system and influence change in the education sector in Nigeria and beyond. Happy to have you on the show today, Ufoma.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
Great. So I want us to go to the business side of it. So I want to start an overseas educational consultancy in Nigeria. How do I go about it? What are the things I need to do?
Well, to start a business, you need to register the business basically, because that's the way to get integrity. So when you register that business, I would advise that you do a lot of research, because that's the key of education, right? Look deep, look at what the students will be asking about, so that when people approach you, you sort of know what to say. And then start off really. And join trainings, join agencies, bodies that look after this sort of students, and kickstart from there.
So are there such bodies in Nigeria?
Well, there's a general international body called ICEF, which we're part of, and there's the CCEA, the Canadian one, which is specific to Canada. In Nigeria, I'm not really sure there's a body just yet. I mean, it's in talks, but there's nothing happening at the moment.
Okay, so what qualifications do I need to be an educational consultant?
Well, maybe a bachelor's, maybe that would be sort of where to start from, because if you're going to be placing students in university, it'll be good to have that experience, have an idea what you're talking about. However, if you just have WAEC and you're a big researcher, which is the key to doing the business, you can get away with that. But a bachelor's, a master's, something that would help you understand what the student is about to get into.
So I don't need to have like a degree or a foundation in education or arts or business management?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I know an education consultant who's a doctor. Yes, so not necessarily. I think it's just researching really. That's what you're supposed to be key on.
Amazing. So let's talk about the growth of this industry. Because I can remember that the last time I heard about, rather the first time I heard about educational consultancy was maybe back in 2000 or something. But that's a long time ago. So what notable changes have you seen since you became a part of this industry?
Well, so I came in 2015 at a time where, for me, I mean, even going to university, I sort of did all the work myself. So it was a bit awkward for me that somebody would have to pay for it. But over the years, I've seen a lot of mistakes that people make. You see students who are qualified for a master's and they're doing a postgraduate diploma just because they don't get the right advice. So I've seen a lot of changes. The pandemic also happened and turned things around a lot, because before now, we would have to put documents together, WAEC, transcripts, certificates, mail everything, DHL it to the school. But now we can scan, we can email. Sometimes you can even get admission on WhatsApp if you, depending on how good your documents are. So, I mean, there's a notable change in the industry, and things are just not as they used to be. They're a bit more quick and responsive now. So
as a business operating in Nigeria, how do you get to or would I say, do you get any form of, when you have to work with maybe people overseas or other companies overseas or universities overseas, is there some form of setback because you're Nigerian?
Well, we have the money. So
we
have the money. So
yeah.
I'm not really sure there's a setback. When we talk about visa, which is a step after getting the admission, that's where we can have some worries about where we're from and the economy and all that. But when you're dealing with the school, all they're interested with is, can you afford to come to school? Are you really genuinely wanting to come to school and not just using this as an escape route? And once we're able to do all that checks, and do you have the grades? And that pretty much covers it for the school placement.
I know the schools are all about the money.
They are.
Okay, so let's talk about the countries that have students most likely want to go to more.
Well, okay, so I mean, Canada is the preferred location just because at the end of the day, you're able to get a work permit, stay, get citizenship. So you don't want to spend all that money and just be chunked back out. However, the visa process is a bit tedious, so most people are looking to the UK, which is a bit more straightforward. I do everything the embassy wants and I get my visa. So yeah, so those are the two countries that I'm starting to see lots of people go into. People are looking at Australia. I think Australia is too far. But
That's
then,
the end of the
yeah, but then people say, are you coming back tomorrow?
All right, we'll talk more about this shortly. We will go on a quick break. Please stay with us.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Thanks for staying with us. This is Ladies Talking Business, and our guest is Ufoma Obademi, a travel professional and consultant. Okay, Ufoma, you've been in this business for, I think, since 2015?
Yes, 2015.
Okay. So what steps have you taken or have helped you run a thriving or profitable business so far?
I think I've invested in hiring good staff. Because I'm a big believer of an individual. It's not an island. So I have staff that I don't need to micromanage. That is key for me. So it means that when I'm not on ground, I know that the business is thriving, even if I'm not around. I've also spent time doing research, developed partnerships because I can't walk alone. So I'm in partnerships with schools, with various other consultants, and I've sort of created a niche for myself. So for me, it's not doing every country and any country, it's doing what I'm very good at so that our success rates are high. And that's pretty much what we've done to ensure that we're successful.
I mean, I like the point you just made about creating a niche for yourself, not doing everything because everybody wants it.
Yes, for us, that's key because I don't want 10,000 applications and 10,000 refusals. I want 1,000 applications and beat my chest that we have a 90-80% success rate.
Interesting. And I would like to think that you're focusing on the money-making bit of the business, which is
yes.
my next question. So what are the money-making areas in overseas educational consultancy?
Okay, so to make money, you have to be good at what you do. So we make money we charge the students. So when they come in, we charge them because it's service and we need to be paid for that service. And a lot of schools abroad cannot physically come here for various reasons and trust us to send the students to them. So we also charge for that service too. So we get a commission when we send students to them as well. So both ways we're earning. We're earning in Nigeria, charging the students, and we're earning placing the students successfully in whichever countries that we decide to go with.
Intelligent. Now you're making me think about going to
That's fine. We're here. We're welcoming people.
Okay, so I know you're involved in other trainings like the IELTS and TEF and GED and all those things.
Yes.
I would like to think they are money makers too, because a lot of people are writing IELTS.
Yes. Everybody wants to have a second option. So people are writing IELTS. TEF wasn't very big when we started. At the time when we started, everybody was like, I can't learn French. But now we're seeing that just knowing English is not sufficient anymore. You need to have a bit. I even sometimes go into the TEF classes and I'm not a big language person. So so TEF too is another good opportunity. And the IT, the tech, I mean, we've seen that tech is the new oil. So I've put my hands in there, got lots of hands-on people to do trainings. And even in this time with the strikes and all that, don't just keep the children at home doing nothing. Bring them, or young adults, bring them in, get their hands dirty and
get their hands dirty. Okay, so what do you think is responsible for the massive rise in the desire to study abroad?
Well, I guess it's first the fact that the education system in Nigeria is a bit awkward. So it means that if I go into school in 2022, I can't be sure that if I'm doing a 3-4 years degree, I won't be done at the end of my program in 2026, because there are strikes, there are breaks, there are all sorts of things that crop up and causes setbacks. So I guess a lot of people just want that certainty of, look, if I start in 2010, I want to be able to finish my course in 2014 and go into the job market. So that first is the main thing I've seen a lot of parents complain about, or people complain about. Also, just the quality of education. I mean, I've spoken to people who graduate and they just computer engineers who don't even know how to, So, but I mean, the quality of education is key. And so that also helps as well. And it just opens you to a lot of opportunities and just makes you diverse, isn't it? Yeah.
So as someone in the educational space, how do you think we can improve the education industry in Nigeria?
Okay. So I think more money should be put in to our infrastructure, to our teaching style, and even to the quality of lecturers and teachers that we have on ground. There are lots of smart people in Nigeria. I mean, you should see Nigerians when they go abroad. It's almost like not the same people you're dealing with here. So I think that we just need to pay attention, right? Because it's like a baby. When you have a child, you need to pay attention to that child. So if we treat education as a child, and we just need to pay attention to the growth, the progress, I think that it would also help us. And education is a big selling point. There's money there. People have to go to school, right? So
and for a population as huge as Nigeria, you have to
drink, you have to go to school. So I think if we do justice and do right by the sector, it would help a lot.
I completely agree with you, but we'll have more conversation on this shortly. More conversations with our guest coming up after the break.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
I'm still here with Ufoma Obademi, CEO, International Bridge Education. All right, Ufoma, so as an entrepreneur, can you tell us some moments that you felt, I'm doing the right thing?
Well, those moments are not very recent because the cost of running a business in Nigeria is heartbreaking these days. However, I do like to be part of somebody's success. So for me, it's just mind-blowing when timid 16, 17-year-olds walk into the office, and when you're having conversation with them in 4 or 5 years' time, it's like, it's a total change, and they're men now, and they're women, and making adult decisions, and it's just really amazing to watch that transformation. I mean, I recently placed a guy into a master's program. Well, not recently, he left maybe 2016, and he called me sometime last month and had just bought his house in Canada. Oh, wow. And for me, that was just amazing, and just to be appreciated and be part of that success. Great. So you've talked about the high points. Let's talk about the challenges running your business in Nigeria. Running the business in Nigeria.
I mean, your business is more service related.
Yes, service related, but we have to run an office, we have to pay staff, we have to ensure that everything is all in working condition. So we have to turn up every time to ensure that that is working. So that's the downside. And also there's just a lot of fraudulent activities in terms of people taking off with funds and all that. So we have to work extra hard so that we're not ever caught in one of those situations.
So you mean like members of staff, or you mean like a company?
So there are lots of companies who just take money and do not actually process applications for the students. And because students are desperate, or people are desperate really, so people capitalize on that desperation sometimes and take off with funds and all. So when you meet a client who has had 1, 2, 3 experiences like that, then you need to work extra hard to make sure that that person is happy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I see some comments sometime on social media, and I just keep laughing. Oh, I paid for this person, they ran away with my money. I paid for this service, they ran away with my money. So that happens a lot. Okay, so what advice do you have to other entrepreneurs out there? I mean, as a business person, working in Nigeria, running a business in Nigeria, dealing with Nigerians.
Dealing with Nigerians. Well, I guess dealing with people. So my advice will just be focus. For me, it's what will take you from point A to point B is the focus and the direction and a clear pathway. So just focus and keep pushing. It gets better. I feel like every success story has a downside where they grow and they pick themselves up, and that would happen to everybody, and that's just my take on things. Just focus.
Amazing. So have you ever imagined or pictured that moment where foreigners will be applying to come school in Nigeria?
Every day, because I personally think that would be amazing. And right after the pandemic, I've seen a lot of countries open up for international students, and that's because they understand that your money is going to help the economy so much. So imagine if we were bringing that money as opposed to exporting it.
Even our people here, they've not even had the best education.
Well, so I picture that moment, and I don't think it's very hard to get if we again focus on it, and if one government comes and decides that this is what I want to sort out, they will sort it out.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Wish you all the very best.
You too.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Ladies Talking Business. Do join us this same time next week for another episode. Don't forget to follow us on Plus TV Africa Lifestyle on YouTube to catch up with our programs. I am Moremi Akol. See you next time.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Abraham, Moses, Jacob, you are one family.
There's no dream of this sport in Nigeria.
See how your body just dripping diamond.
As far as I'm concerned, I guess it's the lady. The ladies, the sacrifice man. Because, okay, let's assume now, this morning, I have to be in the office by 8:30. So she have woken up before 4 a.m. I'm still sleeping by then. So she sacrificed her time to make dishes for me while coming to the office, you know. And some other things like that I cannot do easily if she's not there. So
well, the relationship is virtually about sacrifice. So, and both parties should be willing to make sacrifices. So there is no law that says the man must sacrifice for the woman or the woman must sacrifice for the man. Even among relationship of the same sex, normal friendship, it will still involve sacrifice.
I think both the husband and the wife, they make sacrifices for each other. And it is sacrifice that can even make both couples to be in relationship. Because without sacrifice, sometimes one can just say wants to back out. But both parties, they make sacrifice. And I cannot say one make more sacrifice than the other. So it all depends on the area where the sacrifices are being made.
The reason why I conclude my own that is the man is that the man is the one that be the NG body, that is financially, spiritually, and in all aspects of life. He has to provide everything that is necessary to sustain the relationship.
It's a woman that make real sacrifice of marriage. She will be praying that God should sustain our husband, our home, and our children. So men will be looking for the money to please the wife and to pay for the school children. But women will be praying that God should give them life. There will be no death. Men are not, they don't believe on death. But women fear death too much. That's why we are always, if you see the congregation of the church, in the churches now, women are the ones that are much, because they are praying for God's sustaining of their marriages and their homes, on their children, and on their husbands, so that God should sustain them and bless their lives. So men are just looking for money. They don't pray. They don't believe that prayer is the one that sustains life, providing for house. But they depend on their labors. So that is why women are more so sacrifices on relationship.
That's a very, very cunning one. Because if I say a guy does, the ladies will be like, no. If I say a lady, the guys will be like, boy, you're a guy. But I would say both of them do sacrifice. But if you were to ask me who sacrificed the more, I would say it is the lady. Because in most cases you see her doing more. Let me just, by doing, I believe you understand, doing more. Because ladies are more of a multitasker. They know how to multitask. But guys, we're more like the passive ones. So I guess the lady do sacrifice more in a relationship. Thank you.
The most important and the biggest sacrifice ever is time. Then if you are able to give your time to your partner, you've given the best. Then after time, of course, love and affection follows. But time is actually the most important thing. Then I can give my money, my material things. You understand what I'm saying by material things. So I can share anything with my partner as far as she's worth it.
I will not say man or woman make sacrifices, so it depends. As occasion demands it, the man can make sacrifice. There will also be time for the woman to make sacrifice.
Thank you very much.
And evil amongst if you check within her assemblies, she will make sacrifices for some of her assemblies, some of her female friends. She will equally make sacrifices. Some will make sacrifices for her too. So life is about making sacrifices. God already makes sacrifice for all of us.
Abraham, Moses, Jacob, you are one family.
There's no dream of this sport in Nigeria.
See how your body just dripping diamond.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thought and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Launching a lucrative food business in Nigeria is super easy only if you know the right type of food business to dive into. Food is an essential element that people consume every day. It is the most important substance that people sought after clothing and shelter. And if you look at the food industry in today's time, you will discover that people who invest in the food business are making a lot from it, maybe. However, with food inflation skyrocketing in Nigeria, does this present more of a challenge than an opportunity? Well, we will also share insight on successful tips for starting a food business in Nigeria. Welcome to Business Insights on Plus TV Africa. I am Justin Akademi. Nigeria commemorated the start of the week by dedicating 2 days to the Eid holidays. However, here are the highlights of stories that rounded up Business Nigeria. Take a look.
A presidential aspirant on the PDP, Peter Obi, has warned that Nigeria cannot grow economically with a 35% unemployment rate. He's then urging the federal government to aggressively support micro, small, and medium enterprises, which are the engine of job creation. Peter Obi disclosed this in his Workers' Day message to Nigerians. Nigeria's unemployment rate as of the end of 2020 rose to 33.3% from 27.1% recorded as of Q2 2020, indicating that about 23,187,389 Nigerians remain unemployed. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Timipre Silva, has said that the federal government aims to transform Nigeria into a gas-powered economy by 2030 to address challenges around power generation through gas-powered plants. The minister disclosed this in Abuja at the 2022 public lecture under the theme Inclusive Energy Transition, Key Issues, Investment Opportunities, and Barriers Towards Achieving the Decade of Gas Initiative in Nigeria. He said natural gas is a key resource for energy transition and that it has all the credentials to support Nigeria to meet its commitment in line with the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The federal government and Morocco are set to build the world's longest offshore pipeline and second longest pipeline in the world. This would help to carry gas from Nigeria to Morocco, running across 11 West African countries. This was disclosed by Tolu Ogunlesi, one of the media aides of President Muhammadu Buhari, via his Twitter handle. According to him, the partnership, which is between the NNPC and ONHYM of Morocco, was originally signed by the two countries in June 2018. Telecommunication companies are proposing a 40% increase in the cost of calls, SMS, and data to the Nigerian Communications Commission as a result of the rising cost of running a business in the nation. Based on their proposal, the price floor of calls will increase from 6.4 naira to 8.95 naira, while the price cap of SMS will increase from 4 naira to 5.61 naira. According to them, the telecommunication industry has been financially impacted following the nation's economic recession in 2020 and the effect of the ongoing Ukraine-Russia crisis. The federal government has disclosed that the second Niger Bridge will be commissioned in October and that the Lagos-Ibadan Highway will also be commissioned in June 2022. Nigeria's Minister of State for Works and Housing, Muazu Sambo, said that 11.9 kilometer second Niger Bridge and 120 kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Highway are part of President Buhari's administration pledges on infrastructure.
Well, it is no longer news that the prices of foodstuff and other commodities have gone up and purchasing power reduced in recent times. Nigerians are spending much on food. Does this translate to more money for food entrepreneurs, or are they also struggling to stay afloat? Joining me right now to discuss the food business in this inflationary period is Nneka Adesoya. She is the founder and CEO of Super Dishes. Thanks for joining us on Business Insight.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
It is indeed our pleasure. Let's just dive into it. A lot of people always believe that food business is very lucrative. Is it actually the case, judging by the general hike in prices in Nigeria?
Okay, so first off, I'm super excited that I'm in food business, right? But I would say this, that it's pretty much what you believe to be possible. You know, I mean, someone can say, oh, okay, food business is lucrative, and for somebody else, it's not, you know, it's not as lucrative. So it's what you believe to be true, what you believe to be your reality. And I'll say that for my reality, being in food business for way over 10 years now, right, I would say that it's a thriving it's a thriving arm of business if you choose to make that your reality.
Thank you. Speaking of your reality, it sounds very interesting. Maybe I was just jumping the gun, as it were. Can you tell us how you actually started this? Is it something that you've always wanted to do?
Maybe not exactly. So I was in paid employment, and
you were in paid employment?
Yes, I was in paid employment.
You were a banker, you were a lawyer?
No, I was in customer service. So I was working in a telecommunications company at the time, and I think it became a need. So it's pretty much, you know, how the market is. I feel like every entrepreneur should identify their need, you know, and you're able to meet it. So I was in paid employment at the time, and I think, you know, food became like such an issue. I guess we got tired of what we were always eating. And then on few occasions I come in and then I make different types of meals to work. And then, you know, my colleagues just see, I'm like, babe, how far? You know, can you make this for us? And I think from there I picked up an interest in, okay, I could actually service, you know, I could use my skills to serve people, you know, and so I just started making in small quantities here and there, and before you knew it, this person hears, that person hears, this other person hears. I think at a certain point in my life, I just knew that, okay, God was leading me somewhere else, and, you know, I prayed about it, and here we are.
Well, Nneka, you know, one thing I picked up from what you just said is that there was a need, and you identified it, and you chose to fill that particular need.
Right.
So invariably now, this food business, is it an all-comers affair? What can you do differently to stay afloat?
So I feel that for every business, I strongly advise that you're quite knowledgeable about it, and you're able to grow with the trends, that evolve with the trends. So it's beyond, you know, being, oh, food business is lucrative. Oh yeah, let me do this. It's important that you're knowledgeable, right? And when I say knowledgeable, at least you have basic knowledge of how to put tomatoes and, you know, onions together. That's one. I also strongly feel that, you know, on few occasions where I have mentees who say, oh, I'm not making so much profit, I started this business because it was passion. I think it's important that you also understand that there's a difference between passion and there's a difference between making profit as a business. So you can be passionate about something and you're not making any type of profit from it. So it's safe to say that that's a charity business. All right, you're probably cooking for your family, everybody's eating and they're excited. But the moment you want to go into food business, you should understand that there are basic things you should have knowledge of. What's your food costing? You know, what's the percentage of profits that you're looking to make? It's not necessarily because I put 1,000 naira. You know, at the time where I started years back, it was easy to say you're putting 1,000 naira into the business and you're going to get 2,000 naira. But it's way different now because things are way, you know, more expensive than it used to be. So I strongly advise that, you know, it's not for everyone. Food business is not for everyone. But if you're able to understand what is required, you know, to run a business by having basic knowledge of, you know, putting your ingredients together so that it can serve the masses and then it appeals to them. And then two, your food costing. Get your costing right.
Getting your costing right.
It's so key. Getting your costing right. How much would it cost me to do this? You know, some of the basic things that we leave out, which, you know, at the end, by the time you put them together, you realize that, oh, this is what's taking out my money. This is where I can cut costs. This is where I can reduce, you know, wastage. This is, you know, so those are basic things I feel that everyone who's going into food business should know. You should know your basic overhead
But
costs.
then you should know how to cook. Because I wonder sometimes, you know, people operate restaurants and eateries and canteens and all of that. But you find out that when you eat those food being served at or being sold at those places, they're not really delicious. And I wonder how you open a restaurant when you actually cannot cook. How does that work?
So I know that, life has evolved and life is evolving as it is. But like I said, I think it's important that you have basic knowledge of what type of business you're doing. Okay. So, I would bring it to fashion. So you have, certain persons who are in fashion industry who don't necessarily know how to sew. But they have basic knowledge of, okay, this is how I pattern, this is how I want it, there are some core skills that I believe you should have. So, bringing it to those who, and like I say to people, I say that it's way different when you have to cook for one person and when you're cooking for 100 persons. You have to know how you're going to incorporate your ingredients, how you're going to infuse different elements of cooking into it. And, putting your heart into it. So, I think I would just really encourage or, put it out there that for everyone who wants to do food business, you should have basic knowledge. Have basic knowledge of knowing how to cook whatever it is that you want to cook. Because, when I started, there were times where, so I started out doing small chops. Yes. Right, and there were days where I knew, I had an idea of the recipes. I knew how I wanted the small chops to look like. I knew, but I just felt, I can hire people to get it done. And on different occasions, I had them not showing up. Disappointments. Like, they would not show up. And I'm like, and in that moment, my husband is like, babe, you need to learn this. You need to learn how to do it. And so I picked it up myself. I started frying puff. I started doing stuff by myself. So whether you choose to show up at work, so I think, as individuals and business owners, it's important that you empower yourself. So, you have an identity of your own, regardless of whether you have a great chef or you don't. So
let's talk about how far the industry has grown over the years. I know right now there are a whole lot of stakeholders in the value chain.
Absolutely.
You see lots of delivery men, people order foods online and, just at the tip of your finger, you get meals delivered to you. How far would you say social media and technology has or have indeed helped the sector?
I would say that social media has done a great deal it has done so much for the food business sector, for every business pretty much, because it has given us an edge. So I would say that we're now global competitors, right? So I don't necessarily have to know I don't necessarily have to know where I'm ordering from. Or let me rephrase. I would say it has made us one global competitors. Social media has given everybody, an edge to be able to present yourself the way you want people to see you. So for instance, with my food business, you have cases where families in the diaspora order directly here for you to deliver to their families here in Nigeria. So I would say that, social media has helped a whole lot. It has given us, a level playing ground, so everybody's able to interact. Our pictures are getting to the UK, your pictures are using different hashtags, your pictures are saying in Mexico, people want to identify, with the Nigerian food business industry in itself, because social media has, giving us an edge to be out there, and we're pretty much leveraging on that. So
let's talk about regulation now. Is this particular industry or sector regulated? Because if you had several people jumping on that particular bandwagon, how do you ensure quality? How do you ensure safety and standards as well?
Okay, so I know that we can do better here in Nigeria, to be honest, by having, necessary regulatory bodies that, are able to put checks and balances here and there. But you have different associations that are springing up, bringing some form of unity in the food industry. You have community groups where you can, leverage, knowledge and know what is expected. So I run a community group as well, where we're able to, help growing business owners, gather basic knowledge, have an understanding of the line of business that you're in. So I would say that has helped all them communities here and there and all that. But like I said, I feel that, as a nation, we can still do better by having regulatory, bodies who are able to put checks and balances. However, as a food business owner, I would encourage that you take up courses that can give you an edge, So when I pretty much started, I didn't know that there were certain courses that, that you could leverage on. But, right now you have food safety courses, that makes you certified, that helps to ensure, that gives customers some level of comfort that, okay, this person knows what she's doing. You also have HSE, HSE management courses, health and safety. You have for certain petroleum industries, there are certain courses you also have to, like the DPR certificate, and all of that. So I think that as you grow, it's important that you you lay hold on all of this, certifications. It gives you an edge, in your business, and makes you credible.
But Nneka, just as we round off, it's been very interesting learning about all of these trends. But I want you now to help someone who is actually starting out and who wants to get into this business. And I need someone like you who has been there, who has actually gone through the downs and the highs and the opportunities and, of course, the threats. Your camera is too. I just want you to look at it and just advise and give useful tips on how to start a food business in Nigeria.
Okay, I think first off, one thing that I would, say to whoever is watching is, know your why. Why do you want to do what you want to do? Right, that's one. Two would be that you must be able to numb yourself to limitations, numb your mind to seeing limitations and saying, okay, this is not working. You must be able to numb yourself to such things. And most importantly, one of the scriptures that keeps me going is from Isaiah 50 verses 7, which says you should set your face like a flint and you will not be dismayed. So you must set your face on the one who has called you, on the one who has sent you, and one who is making it possible for you to make your food business grow. Set your face on him. Don't focus on anything else, because he would always give you direction, and that's the person of the Holy Spirit. He'd always direct you and show you which way to go and what steps to take. So do it afraid. Anyways, just start already, because time waits for no one. So start while you can.
All right, thank you so much. Indeed, you have given useful insights. What some people may need to go and pay courses, for to just acquire this knowledge. Indeed, we have been speaking with Nneka Adesanya. She is the founder, CEO of Super Dishes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Nneka, for sharing all these insights.
Thank you so much.
We do appreciate it.
I do appreciate. Thank you for having me.
It is indeed our pleasure.
All right.
All right, during the week, we were at the opening day of the 13th edition of the LAF, that's the Lagos Architect Forum, and it was themed, the city of Lagos, what is Lagos? It brought together experts to discuss issues, trends, and policies, among others, with the city of Lagos as the center of focus. We'll leave you with the highlight of this in the next report. My name is Justin Akadonye, Business Insight returns again next week. Bye for now.
Lagos is the fourth capital of Nigeria, known for its uniqueness as an economic hub, high-flying business hub, and a city that has long captivated people from all over the world. However, these architects have converged to share ideas and critical insights to effectively midwife a livable and sustainable Lagos state.
We try to analyze the physical development within the city of Lagos and see how we can get government to key into some of the suggestions that as professionals we think they should key into.
When we talk of the thriving city in the world, these are cities that never sleep.
What it is all about is to synergize, to interact with the private sector, the public sector, the manufacturers, the suppliers of building materials.
In recent times, incidences of building collapses have become recurring, even with a city as commercial as Lagos. As one wonders how this tide can be stemmed, government is advised to ensure monitoring, as enforcement does not stop when approval is given. The professionals believe that state government should domesticate the national building code, as well as show political will to stop the menace.
The building code actually has some compliance forms built into the document, such that at various stages of the development of the building of a building, you have relevant professionals signing off at different stages.
Are we shying away from our responsibilities? Are we ready to take up? Be ready for more collapses? Because if we are not ready to do the right thing, then be sure that these tragedies will continue to occur.
Until we can have a proper governance structure on the construction process, where we start to track who designs, who supervises, what are the stages of construction, what are the stages of certification, and it's available on a digital platform. This is why this is Lagos.
The NIS shows that it will continue in its advocacy role as watchdogs to promote best practices in the building procurement process to avert ugly consequences of building failures and collapses.
Urinary tract infection is simply infection of the urinary tract. So the body is divided into systems. And of course, you have, just like you have the digestive system, neurologic system, you have the urinary tract or urinary system, which is made up of the kidneys, the ureter, the bladder, and the urethra. Okay, these four parts form the urinary system. Any infection in any part of the system is what we simply call the urinary tract infection. Basically, every infective organism can cause urinary tract infection. The most common ones are your bacteria, your fungi, and viruses. You have virus infections that can cause urinary tract infection. You have fungi that can cause, especially in immunocompromised individuals. For an example, people on high levels of suppressants, immunosuppressants, or high levels of chemotherapies, or patients who have come down with retroviral infections. Then, in very common cases, are bacterial infections that cause urinary tract infection, which are the common ones that we see. So you have things like Streptococcus, you have things like H. influenza, you have things like E. coli. In worst cases, you have Klebsiella, and of course, all of these bacteria can actually cause urinary tract infection. When they affect the different levels of the body, they have their different symptoms. So some of them get as far as the kidneys, cause things like pyelonephritis, and it further goes down to damaging symptoms. Okay, so it can be caused by bacteria, fungi, viruses are the commonest one. Protozoas can also cause it, and sometimes worms infections. 5 major steps actually preventing urinary tract infections. Number 1 is maintaining a good hygiene. Hygiene has been seen to be implicated in urinary tract infections, and if you are not very careful with, especially with the underwears, you can recurrently cause urinary tract infection. And then, of course, with the areas of sanitation, the restrooms are very implicative. And even in, partners, sexual partners, sometimes you may need to be very cautious. Okay, so basically hygiene. Oftentimes you see ladies not properly, use their underwears, or sometimes they don't even use it or properly wash. So it's usually recommended that they wash recurrently with maybe a hypo, a sanitizer, as it were, or a jig, a detergent, and sometimes even iron. Okay, the reason for ironing is to give the heat if you don't want to discard completely. All right. Other prevention mechanisms includes proper dieting. Okay. When we eat right, we prevent a lot of things. Sometimes when we do a lot of sugar, you provide a habitable environment for these microbes to grow. All right. A lot of sugar. Yeah. Sometimes we even think that high protein diets are very effective, but no, you further even provide, because you see, in improper dieting, you alter the pH of the body. This pH of the body is what is responsible for the maintaining a proper environment that organisms does not grow. When you distort it, certain organisms now begin to thrive in places where they're not supposed to thrive. The third thing is water, hydration. Good level of hydration, okay, keeps us consistently cleansed out. The fourth one is, it's been said that especially in women, they ought to clean from front to back. Rather, yes, from front to back, not from back to front. Okay, that's the proper way of cleaning. And then there's been some drinks that have been used in, especially berry drinks, cranberry drinks, have been very effective in the GI. So if you have drinks that have the cranberry or berry nectar, you have a good chance of preventing it. Some other ways of preventing: regular testing, you can prevent your urinary tract infections. Yeah. The symptoms of urinary tract infections includes a recurrent urge to want to use the restroom. You have that recurrent, and sometimes it could be very little amount of urine that could come out. You could have burning sensation in the process of urinating. You could have, itchiness. You could have cloudy urine. Sometimes discolored urine that could either be red or dark coke colored and all that. And then one other thing, pain, especially lower abdominal pain. One of the classical symptoms, lower abdominal pain. For men, you could see, of course, some burning sensations on trying to urinate. Usually not so much. And they could also have discharge, but that happens more with sexually transmitted infections. Now, the point about improper treatment, especially in females, is that it's responsible for high levels of infertility when it's not properly treated. The bad part of urinary tract infection is that it takes a quiet stage and right there in the body, and many people walk away, especially guys, especially men. They feel that they're good, and so it takes a quiet stage, and then over time, it's the cause of, or they become transmitters. Then the women eventually are the ones who come down with the symptoms, but they or never come down with the symptoms at all, and then life is good. The treatment plan for urinary tract infections can last for more than 2 weeks. It's important that you do not prescribe or you do not recommend yourself many of these roadside drugs that people do, especially when you hear things like Staph aureus and stuff. No, none of that is just very unacceptable. In the treatment of urinary tract infections, you get tested first and you get drugs that are sensitive to these infections. Now, for some reasons, when adequate doses of these drugs are not taken, especially to completion, like I said to you, many times the treatment could last for as much as 2 weeks because of the level for where they are. The urinary tract infection is one of the lowest parts of the body. All right. So you have to do that long. If you don't do that, you begin to grow resistant strains of these microbes, and then you have to do it again and again. But the next time you're coming back to hit it, you don't get the same response like you got the first time. So it's important that whenever you're going to get treated, you treat for a very long time, and as much as 2 weeks, sometimes injections first, and then you complete the dosage with with a couple of tablets that are sensitive to the organism. Whenever there is recurrence of urinary tract infection, it's important that you pay attention to hygiene. Check hygiene levels very importantly, and that simply means that you may want to discard all underwears and replace them. Have proper baths. Just pay more attention. Number one, you never treat urinary tract infections without trying to treat your partner. It's important that you check out your partner, especially when it is one partner. Okay, if there's multiple partners, you just have to do something about that. All right. Okay, but then you want to also pay attention to your partner. The second and the third important thing is to check your fluid balance and all the other exogenous things you take. Now, when you're treating with the drugs, I recommend that you do injections first and then you do orals. Many times orals don't get as deep and as far as what injections will do. So even when you see sensitivity for certain drugs, you want to try the injections first. For me, I practice for 5 days minimum. And then subsequently, the books sometimes say up to 7 days. All right. And you do, subsequently you do the injections. When you do that, you get a better result because of the penetrating capacity of injections compared to tablets.
Hello and welcome. On this episode on One-on-One today, I'm speaking with a professional with over 18 years experience. His name is Azeez Abida. Now, those who have worked with him say he possesses strong leadership qualities and management skills. He has worked in about 12 industries, including general management, corporate finance, portfolio management, investment banking, private equity and financial advisory. He's the former CEO of IHS Rwanda, one of the top 10 largest companies in Rwanda with an estimate of 50 million annual revenue. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Abida.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time. My first question to you is, you've done all of these things. What are you up to now?
Well, right now, I left IHS in September, so I decided to take time to write a book and start I consult for a lot of companies now, about
Okay.
3-4, on structuring themselves for growth and helping them position themselves for funding and the rest. Then also spending some time setting up my foundation to, give back to society as we go. Yeah, so that's more like.
So now that you're in control of your own time, are you busier than when you worked for companies?
Yes. Right now, I can't remember the last time I slept before 3 a.m. I still get my 6 hours daily, but I sleep almost 3 a.m. daily now because you're in control and you just feel like this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this, and then you're juggling. Before it was like one company you're working for, now you're juggling about 3 companies together to make sure, okay, yes, tomorrow morning we need to go for an investor presentation, make sure this is ready, and things like that. So it's much busy now.
Oh, wow. Okay, so every time we hear this word corporate governance, how do we ensure that companies follow through with it? We only just being another tick box exercise.
I think we are beyond the age of corporate governance being a tick box now. It's now investors, companies are looking for, there are very few companies out there that are not looking for funding. And when you talk about those, when you look at the companies that are looking for funding, investors are very focused on those sort of things. You cannot just come to an investor and he says, okay, if I give you money, how do I ensure it's safe? So those are areas that are really becoming more and more critical. So if you treat it as a tick box now, you'll most likely pay for it really, really big. So corporate governance is extremely important, especially since 2008 when we have this whole financial crisis. And it's been that way since then. So you have US implementing Sarbanes-Oxley and a lot of other policies coming into place to ensure that you can protect stakeholders in a business through corporate governance. So yeah, I don't think any company would ever treat it as a tick box anymore. It would be difficult. Okay.
Well, if you say so, now let's talk about leadership.
Okay.
In Nigeria, everybody goes on about how we have a leadership problem. And every time when we talk about leadership, we look at politicians, we look at government agencies, and we assume that corporate organizations, private-owned companies will do it better. But some of them have leadership challenges. Why?
Well, I would say I think some of them is a big understatement. There is no way you don't have a leadership challenge, one or the other, whether small or big. It's the degree that varies. So if you go to some of the most advanced companies you have in the world, you would be surprised what you find when you get to their leadership. But the important factor to understand about leadership is that everyone is always learning on the job. We treat leaders as if they are these super robot human beings that are just there. They can't make mistakes. They would make mistakes, but they make it in different degrees. And a lot of them realize, they take a step back, and then they go forward again. But what differentiates a leader from every other person is actually that bird's eye view. That, okay, even if I'm making a mistake, I still see the impact on everything. And then you just start filling in pieces. So you can't really say that there is no challenge of leadership anywhere. Private organizations have a lot, from controlling politics to controlling employee engagement to making sure everybody is equally treated. It's a lot of problems on the leadership side. So yeah, I don't think it's private organizations have it better scenario.
Well,
no.
We all assume they have it better.
I've never assumed that.
Okay, now let's talk also about finding. So this CEO is about to resign. Why is succeeding him always sometimes like a challenge? Why is grooming leaders to succeed people a challenge sometimes?
Well, you can't really know a successor is good until he succeeds. So it's like I always say, if I have you as a staff, you're fantastic at what you do. Then you tell me there's another guy that is behind you. I could tell you, okay, yeah, that guy is there. But the question is, you're going, I know what I get, but I don't know what I'm going to get with the next guy. So it's like an investment. You want to invest in something. Do you know the return? No.
Okay.
So technically, it's a bit difficult to go to the point. So succession planning is always something that would be a problem. So, but what companies are now doing is to make sure that even if we don't know what we're going to get, at least we can pass as much knowledge as possible to the next person. Then you introduce mentors when they take over. Okay, how do you... So like for me, when I was leaving IHS Nigeria to IHS Rwanda, I was director of FP&A for 7 years in Nigeria. Okay. Then I went to Rwanda as CEO. Now, somebody took over after me, and I spent a lot of time saying to the person, okay, how do you need to do this. These are the sort of relationships you need to build. These are the areas you need to go. So that sort of mentorship helps a lot in succession, but it is never risk-free. It's impossible because you still have the ego. You still have a lot of things that comes in place. And then you have the unwillingness of the person that left to give that person the chance to do it. So it's a lot of variables to juggle around. So yeah, it's always going to be a problem.
Is it not possible that beyond, even though of course the leader makes the company, is it not possible to create a system such a way that regardless of the leader, we're able to develop whosoever might want to succeed the CEO or the MD when he's leaving? Is it possible to ingrain it even from when they come, when we take them in as trainees, so ingrain it just before they move up?
Well, yeah, it's possible, but the point is, if you want to test that theory, let's take a country like the US. Most of these guys that are leaders in the US, they go through schools, the best schools in the world, come through one of the best political systems in the world, but do they end up being the best leaders in the world? Not really. You really can't.
Mr. Amida, let's come to our country.
No, but I'm trying to stay away from.
Why? Because I just also feel like Nigeria. So it's fantastic that you made that analysis. They go to the best schools. Yes, it doesn't always mean the same, but like in the schools, in learning, there's some. They're doing projects, they're doing like different things. But Nigeria is, like we say, man no man has brought this person in, whether he has the capabilities or not, whether he has I don't even really like to look at degrees, because I always say that degrees is not character at the end of the day.
I agree with you. And at the same time, I always feel it's a personal journey. What you do as a leader defines a lot about you in terms of what you've. Leadership is something that until you take it, you don't really know how much variables are in front of you. You could look at someone that says, this guy is a leader, he's not so great at what he's doing. It's easy. I can tell you. When I became CEO, I forgave every CEO I've ever worked with in my life. Because there is a lot of work, a lot of things you don't normally see. And someone told me once and said, oh, maybe that's not something, is that something you think you want to do? I said, that's the best experience in my life. I would do it anytime, any day, because it gives you so much. The pressure is huge. The government wants something, they call you. Your boss wants something from your holding company, they call you. Everyone that wants anything relating to that brand would call your name. So it's a really different ball game.
So how did you balance that?
Well, you need to find a lot of balancing everyday stuff. One, I like to distract myself a lot. I like to take myself away from work significantly. I play games, I go play games with my friends, go watch the game. Just do something that takes me away completely from everything. And I play football as much as possible. Okay. I do almost every sport that is available to do. But the aim of that is to ensure that I don't have any reason to pressure myself to the point where I can't function. And that's important, because you could really go hard on everything, and then next thing you find out, boom, you're taking it out on the staff, or you're taking it out on a peer or something. It's really hard to master. So I don't really believe, I believe systems work, but when people take roles, they decide what they do with it significantly. There are controls in place, but they still have a lot of role to play. So that you can't really rule that out, no matter what.
Okay, let's talk about you as a leader. So I'm glad you've talked about. So your leadership style, I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong, you're the one who has been a CEO here. I feel like there's some people that have there's an innate leadership style that they're born with. And then, along the line, as they begin to work and relate with other people and mentors, it changed. So tell us about yours. What's your leadership style and how has it evolved over the years?
Well, I think one thing that stayed constant all through me being in leadership is that if you want to lead people, you need to remove everything they can worry about outside of you. Now, what am I trying to say? I have staffs that will say, if I have a staff and he's worried about taking his kid to school, he can't concentrate. So anything I tell him, he can't do. So for me, my priority anywhere is that my guys that I'm working with, they have to be fine. When I got to Rwanda, I promoted about 35 people who basically some of them have been on roles for 7 years. So it's been because the first thing I could do was to say, it's impossible to tell this guy, go do this for me, when he's worried about how he's going to pay his bills. So you need to understand that everyone has a goal. Everyone wants to send their kid to the best schools in the world. Everyone wants to eat at the best restaurant. So it's not just you. So if you can't make that, I'm not saying just increase salary, boom, and make everything crazy. But the moment I have a budget, this is my budget, this is what I can work with. It is now down to me to say, okay, how can I use this bucket in a way that makes sense to the company and at the same time to the people? So when I was in IHS Nigeria 7 years, and my team was one of the fastest growing teams.
Oh, wow.
I think I had more managers in my team than a lot of departments had in them. So it was basically, my aim was to say, how do I grow the people? Not just growing them because they're not working. So they can now worry about me because I demand performance. So if it's only me you're worried about, then I can take away the rest. Then at least it's fine. Then I can easily say it's balanced in a way. I'm not saying I'm the perfect leader. There will always be faults everywhere here and there. A staff once told me I should go back to school to learn management. It's fine. It's his view. But to me, it's the way I believe people should be led. Give them a reason to want to follow. Because followership is more of a sacrifice than leadership is. Leadership, yes, is mostly imposed. I won't say imposed is not the right word. It's mostly given. You need to have that opportunity to lead. But to follow is actually a default. So it requires you sacrificing your time to be able to help someone else get his goal up. Okay. So to me, I don't take that for granted at all. So people is extremely important in my leadership style. But every other thing is left to debate. People can tell me, oh, is this, is that. I don't know. But that is a constant.
Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll take a short break. Mr. Amida is still with us, talking about leadership and leadership challenges in a corporate organization. Stay with us.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station Plus TV Africa and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
Thank you for staying with us on One on One. I still have Azeez Amida with me, and we're talking about leadership and leadership challenges in corporate organizations. Okay, so you've talked about your leadership style. What will you consider as the critical success factors for a leader?
People. You can't do without it. It's I always say if your worry is about targets, most likely you don't have the right people. If your worry is about a lot of things, people would make everything happen. But if you cannot sort that problem out, it's impossible to conceptualize any other problem, because you will spend your days dealing with, oh, maybe you're overpaying one person compared to the other guy. This guy is not happy. This lady here wants to be somewhere else. You spend a lot of time around. There'll be a lot of friction in the organization. So to me, having the right team that could work together, creating that environment that people could say when they wake up in the morning, they don't feel like they are under any pressure to come to work. I once had two staff who got into a very big conflict, and it lasted for a while. And I remember there was a time I was speaking with the manager. One was a manager, and they were like one reports to the other. So they were, and I said to her, I said, the important factor for me is that at the end of this whole thing, at no point should this lady feel she doesn't want to come to work. So I'm not going to tell you how to run your team, but just know my concern is that she needs to be happy with the job. So if you feel this conflict makes her happy, it's fine. If you feel it doesn't make her happy, then get it resolved. So it's important to understand that those things they're salient, because one tiny problem can basically wreck the entire chain, because what you do affects what the next person does, and it goes on and on and on like that. So if one person is not functioning well, the whole team can't function.
I feel like I should ask you follow-up questions to that. Like, how
Please,
do you ensure? Because, leadership, like you said, I really don't envy leaders, because leadership is a lot of work.
Yeah.
You're managing someone's not only personality, whatever self-confidence issues they have about themselves, how they were raised, and all of that. And you have to battle and balance that and ensure that you still get, your results at the end of the day, because...
Because what has worked for me, because I think I can read people a lot. For me personally, I could almost tell how to deal with you in 2 minutes after talking to you. I could almost tell, okay, with this person you need to be extremely firm. With this person, be soft. With this person, I used to work in an environment where we shout a lot. And there was this lady that was working with me. I never shouted on her for 6 years.
Oh wow, how did you do that?
It would be like, okay, how does it? But to me, that's her personality. She works better when you're able to
explain.
Okay,
to her.
you know what? Just take it easy. Go do this. Sometimes you get you get angry and you're like, oh wow, what's this? But I never really got into that position where I'm like, unlike some other people, and you're going hard at them. But then the other lady is like, she just comes to work and is like, okay, she comes and then you talk to her calmly. People say maybe it's the way she carries herself, but no, that's her personality. She works better when she's understood, when she's allowed to think. And the moment you put her under that sort of pressure, boom. It's we used to crack this joke about this friend of mine that we work in school together. We're in school, and when you go into an exam, and if that guy is thinking, and you call his name, he has failed.
Oh wow!
He would literally forget everything he wants to write. So everyone in the class will just say, in his exam, just let this guy be. Don't talk to him. Don't do anything. And it works. So your ability, discernment is important in leadership. So these things, they look so small, but they go a long way. People look at you and think, oh, it's just that guy that does it. But no, you're paying attention to all those things, because they are extremely important to you being successful.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk about employee behavior, especially in this era of great resignation.
Okay.
How should leaders, handle that? How should companies handle that now? Because it's almost like people just resigning, they're going into, I was reading a CNN report, and it was talking about how a lot of people, are resigning even from the jobs that are well paid and just, moving on. Was it the pandemic? I don't know. Tell us about it.
Well, it has two sides to it. I can't really confirm or say anything about the theory of the Great Resign, but the point I know is that people would always see things from two different angles. So there is the guys who see a different opportunity to go to. They would resign. They will go, because human beings are rational. So it is impossible to see a high return and go for a lower one when all things are the same. So every time you look at them, if a man is making a decision, or a woman is making a decision, they are making it because they see a better opportunity in something else. So when this whole great resign, is a person resigning for something worse than what they had? I don't think so. So the same thing would apply. So, and it comes down to what I said earlier. If you can make people believe and have goals, and you can meet their goals on whatever they are doing, they would always feel that joy to come to work daily. But if it's the other way, if I'm stressed every time I come to work, and I know that I'm probably going to lose my life or something else if I don't pay attention, then I'll leave. So you might call it anything, but the real problem is that everyone leaving any opportunity is leaving to what they believe in their mind is a better one. Whether it turns out to be better is a different thing. But as of the time that decision is being made, that's the background.
All right, interesting. Thank you. Let's talk about work cultures. How do we create sustainable work cultures?
Culture. Culture is hard because culture, you build culture from the little things. You build culture over time. You really can't. I've seen people do presentations around building culture, but I don't believe culture is something okay, in Yoruba culture, they say if you want to greet an adult, you bow. If you're younger than someone, you give them a title, basically. Now, how is that relevant? Was that basically a law that was made and say, boom, this is how you relate to this guy? No, we grew up. Oh, I saw this person do it. Then I'm watching. So it's the same way. When in an organization, everyone below anyone is looking at the way you do things. They see you go into a meeting tomorrow and you're on your phone. Okay, maybe it's good to be on the phone. They see you go into, it's those little things. Culture is actually one of the things you contribute to in the subconscious a lot compared to any other thing. Processes you can draw on visual. Culture is a conscious effort towards little things to say, okay, as management, we want to do this way. When we go into the meetings, do we want to put our phones on the side so people see us that we do this? So it requires a lot of deliberate effort to make happen. So yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the pandemic. It's been 2 years, 2022, 2020. Lessons you've taken from the pandemic.
We must be ready to change. There is no one way to achieve any goal. We're glued to the office before now.
Yeah.
We need to do it from here. If we're not in the office, we're not productive. But then, most of us have found significant productivity from home. Basically, I particularly, working from home has been amazing for me. It's been, I could spend more time with my daughter, I could spend more time with my wife, and at the same time still focus on work. Unlike before, that time is, if I replace the time in traffic in Lagos with the time with family, you could almost double your income. I used to, when I used to live in Egbeda, I drive to Marina every day. And I leave the office at 5, get home at 10. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, why am I doing this to myself? You spend 5 hours. So if my hourly rate is, let's say, even if I make 300,000 a month, it means my hourly rate comes down to about, if I'm not mistaken, that's about 800 naira an hour. 800 naira per hour comes down to 5 hours. That's literally 4,000 bucks. If you look at it over a month, you're almost paying your rent. So the question becomes, that time alone, if that guy spent it focusing on what matters, he would produce more for the company. So yeah.
Okay. So for you, Mr. Amida, any regrets, any things that you wish you could have done differently?
I wish I could have been a bit more. You make how do you call it? This is a very difficult question to answer because regrets are very hard to acknowledge, more or less. But I think I didn't go through my career with a lot of humility, basically. I wish I could have learned humility earlier in life.
Okay.
To say, I learned it the hard way as I grew up, but I wish I could have been, a bit more. If you ask people that work with me early on in my career and people that work with me much later, you'll see a very different divide in the way it works. Maybe some might still have different opinions, but yeah, that's to be more humble, but at the same time network more, create more relationships. There are a lot of relationships over the years that are basically allowed to okay, you know what, maybe this person is here or there.
Our time is fast spent, but I cannot but help ask this last question. What difference did you notice in working in Rwanda and working in Nigeria? What was the shocking should I say difference? Was there any?
That's like day and night.
Oh really?
Yeah, Nigeria is like brash. We like to get it done now.
Aggressive, yes.
Rwandese they're not confrontational like us. So when there's conflict, they back down. So you need to be able to manage their position a lot. And I always say in Rwanda, anger is your last resort a lot of times. You need to is at the very end of the line. Nigeria, we get angry at each other. We understand. We just feel it's work. We move on. But when you get angry with the Rwandese, you might not forget it easily. It's not because it's just the way we're built. We're built differently. It's a
Yeah, I think in the entire continent, Nigerians are most aggressive.
I think Nigerians are very aggressive, but a lot of other countries also have that aggression. But because we go into the English line when we communicate, people tend to, like in Rwanda, people are not quiet when they are speaking Kenya Rwanda. I think Rwandese are very loud when they're speaking Kenya Rwanda. But when as loud as Nigerians are. But when you go English, because it's not the comfort zone, it's a bit easier to, back down. But when you see Rwandese talk to Rwandese, you're like, okay, are they fighting? Are they not? It's really different.
Did you pick up on the language while you were there?
Well, the only one I know is that Oya in Lagos means let's go.
Oh.
In Rwanda, it means no.
Oh, really?
Yes. So when you say Oya, just know you're telling the person no. Meanwhile, your plan is to say let's do it.
Let's go.
So it's one of the areas I found very. But yeah, I learned a bit of Kenya Rwanda here and there, but not very good.
Okay, my director to me. One last question: top business priorities or top priorities leaders, and I think even everyone should look out for in 2022.
I think 2022 will be a very productive year because we've been it's like a jet engine when it is boosting and it's about to launch. We've been doing this work from home / adjusting to the pandemic for about 2 years now, and it's now time for you to start seeing the benefit of that. People are now getting more and more used to the fact, and now they can produce the best of it. So I think the best things to look out for in 2020 will be huge productivity, if you ask me. I'm not a professor of econometrics that modeled this out, but I can tell you that from what I know about behavioral science and how people tend to produce, this is a time where businesses will start seeing a lot of drive towards new levels. Well, those that are willing to adapt to it anyway. So, but yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Azeez Amida.
Most welcome.
I still have a lot of questions, but we're out of time.
It's not a problem.
I think I'll ask you behind the scenes. Thank you very much
problem.
for your time. And that's all we can take on 101 today. I hope you have listened and learned as much as I can. So until I see you again next week, my name is Femona Ajekwe.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
Good afternoon. I am Jacinta Obiuku. This is the news update. Nigerian airline operators have issued a notice that with effect from Monday, 9th of May, they will shut down their operation due to the high cost of aviation fuel, which has hit 700 naira per litre. The traveling public who intend to fly are advised to make alternative arrangements to avoid being stranded at the country's airports. Over time, aviation fuel price has risen from 190 naira per litre to 700 naira currently. The federal government will resume talks with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, by next week as part of moves to end the lingering strike by the lecturers. The Minister for Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, said this in his opening remark at a meeting with the striking National Association of Academic Technologists, NAT. The minister believes the strikes in the sector were mainly due to economic reasons, and he says with dialogue the solution would be reached. The United Kingdom has clarified that it did not designate the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, as a terrorist organization, describing the report as untrue. The clarification comes after it emerged that the UK sought to exclude IPOB members who have committed human rights abuses from its asylum program. A statement signed by presidential spokesperson Garba Shehu had stated that Nigeria welcomes the decision by the United Kingdom to proscribe the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, as a terrorist. President Muhammadu Buhari has reiterated his order to security agencies to flush out those perpetrating violence in the southeast and other parts of the country. The president paid tribute to members of the Nigerian armed forces who recently lost their lives in the region. He pledged the federal government would deploy its strength to protect innocent and hardworking Nigerians from terrorists and those causing breakdown of law and order in the southeast region.
I have listened carefully to the various appeals from the elders to the traditional leaders regarding a wide range of options. And as I have said previously, this matter remains in the full purview of the courts, where it will be properly educated. My worry is for our hardworking and innocent civilians for whom life is already tough and would like to just go out and earn a decent, honest living. There are many that fit this profile, and the government owes them that obligation to protect their lives and property.
There seems to be no end to sight to the killings going on in Irigwe land of Basa local government area of Plateau State. The latest was a late evening attack on Chukun and Zarama villages that left 8 people dead. When Plus TV News visited the communities, people were seen in groups mourning their loved ones, while others prepared mass graves for the burial. Some eyewitnesses who spoke said the attackers came in the company of men dressed in military fatigues and launched their attack at around 8 p.m.
Those who come and attack this village.
Akande says the Southwest is united and will work to produce Nigeria's next president. He made a comment while speaking to journalists at the end of a meeting of presidential aspirants of the All Progressives Congress APC from the Southwest. Akande said it was agreed that the aspirants should shun divisiveness and go about their campaigns with maturity.
The elders of the APC caucus in the Southwest to let you know that we are having, a reason to let you know that we are united on purpose And the purpose is to ensure that the presidency of Nigeria in 2023 will come to Southwest. Thank you very much.
Language. So, can we ask questions?
No question, except to tell you that all of us must talk to ourselves and to the public with absolute decorum, because we are united.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has said that it is monitoring the source of the funds used in purchasing political party forms. The chairman of the EFCC, Abdulrasheed Bauer, said the EFCC was working with the Independent and National Electoral Commission to establish the source of this fund. The ruling All Progressive Congress has pegged its presidential forms at 100 million naira, while the main opposition People's Democratic Party sold its form for 41 million naira. As political parties put price tags on the presidential forms for aspirants, Nigerians react to this amount. That's on Street Views. Take a listen.
As a people, these are things that we need to take into consideration when making our choice of a party to support or the candidates to support, because there is consequence to such things being put in place. You don't expect someone that pays a huge price and buys from his pocket to actually then not want to recoup that money. Where do they get such money from to buy just a form where it's not guaranteed you're going to win? So, as citizens, we need to be watchful of that and make our decisions.
It's not ideal, especially if you look at what's going on in the country now. 100 million is a lot of money. I don't want to use the word absorb, but it's a lot of money. And the consideration is, for me, is what's the basis? How did you come about 100 million? I think the other parties are doing 40 million, 35. Even 10 million is a lot of money, given the fact that we're looking for a leader now who doesn't necessarily have to have all the way to do financially, but a leader who knows what it is that the country needs or is expected of him.
They are making the money for the party. The party belongs to the money belongs to the party. So you can never say maybe it's wrong or it's right. Because even though they say it's a trillion. If you have the power, you do it, you pay it.
It doesn't make any sense at all. That's too much. At least should have been like 50,000 at least. Actually, that's too much. 100 million, no. 100 million, 100,000, I don't understand. 100 million, no, that's too much. No, it's too much. No.
If a Nigerian, an individual will bring out 100 million from his purse to buy for form to run for the presidency, meaning that he has trillions of naira in his account. Therefore, EFCC is supposed to go there and find out what is working. If you happen to buy the form too, what are you going there to do? You must bring your money back, put your interest before you think of others.
That's ridiculous. In fact, when I heard the news, and I'm wondering, where do they want like genuine people to actually get this kind of money? People that can afford it are people that are actually stealing. The other time, a certain man did a burial and EFCC invited him over to probe him because of the money he spent for the burial. So EFCC should also invite these ones that are able to buy these forms and then probe them and ask them where they got that money from, because you can't tell me it's not it's genuine. Even if it's genuine, when they enter now, they will want to steal and get back that money.
Other parts of Africa, Morocco's anti-terrorism police have arrested a man suspected of being enrolled in the Islamic State jihadist organization with a view to carrying out terrorist acts in Morocco in coordination with the US FBI. The suspect operated in Bekin, the northeast of the country, would be the Central Bureau of Judicial Investigation, BCIJ, said in a statement involved and the preparation of a terrorist project aimed at seriously undermining public order. Since 2000, Moroccan police have dismantled more than 2,000 terrorist cells and arrested more than 3,500 people in terrorism-related cases, according to authorities. Outside Africa now, the death toll in deadly explosion that hit a well-known hotel in downtown Havana, tearing the cash of several floors high in the side of the buildings, has risen to 22, while 74 have been injured. Hospital Services Department Head of Cuba's Health Ministry, Dr. Julio Gura Izquierdo, told a news conference before the death toll went up again that about 74 injured people have been received, with 18 of them dead. Health authorities said a nearby school was rattled by the blast, with more than 300 students in attendance. And entertainment news now. Harry and Meghan have announced that they will be in the UK with their children for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee next month. They released the announcement just minutes after a palace spokesperson announced that the Queen has banned them and Prince Andrew from the Buckingham Palace balcony during the Trooping the Colour. Harry and Meghan revealed that they will fly in from California with Aki, 3, and Lilibet, 11 months, to attend celebrations marking the monarch's 70 years on the throne that began on June the 2nd. In sports news now, Chelsea FC has said that a group led by Los Angeles Dodgers co-owner Todd Boehly would acquire a London club after agreeing to terms in a deal worth $5.2 billion. The football club said in a statement that the sale is expected to complete in late May, subject to unnecessary regulatory approvals. Chelsea Russian owner Roman Abramovich put the Premier League club on market in March, just days before he was sanctioned by the British government following the invasion of Ukraine. And that's the news update. For more stories, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Jacinta Obiuku. Thanks for watching.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
My leg represents my hand. You know, God is a miracle worker, and nobody's useless. It's only when you want to make yourself a useless person. God sees that I cannot make use of the hand, so He gave me the opportunity to be making use of the leg. My name is Tomauno. I'm an artist, a landscape painter. I'm from Delta State. I love colors a lot. I love playing with colors. My painting mostly based on landscape painting. So since I love colors, I will just think how to mix the colors together to bring out the stuff that I have in mind.
Oftentimes in Nigeria, people with any form of disability are most of the time treated with a certain level of compassion, maybe love, and sometimes pity. Today, I meet Toma, differently abled person, and she shares her story of strength, of courage and resilience with me.
My leg represents my hand, you know. This thing that I believe that God do. God is a miracle worker, and nobody's useless. It's only when you want to make yourself a useless person. God sees that I cannot make use of the hand, so He gave me the opportunity to be making use of the leg. So I use the leg to feed myself. I use it to operate my phone. I use it to do so many things that I can do.
Toma is not defined by her situation, but fiercely and graciously uses her gift to express herself.
Painting is just like my voice. Majority of my painting is just expressing yourself through colors, just appreciating the nature. So.
This is her work. She used this leg to paint, but she didn't use the hand. I'm telling mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run gidi gan pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ mi gan tó ń lo ọwọ́ gan tó máa bẹ́ tàwọn times 100 kò kí ń ṣọ̀lẹ bó dẹ̀ ṣe kò kí ń ṣọ̀lẹ kò dẹ̀ kí ń ṣọmọ tó yẹ pé bó ṣe ó máa ń rí iṣẹ́ ó máa ń sá sẹ́yìn kò kí ń fi iṣẹ́ ṣeré bó ṣe wà yìí iṣẹ́ kò kí ń fi ṣeré ó tẹ́ lọ́rùn kó ná last kọ́bọ̀ lórí iṣẹ́ yẹn tó bá ná last kọ́bọ̀ lórí iṣẹ́ yẹn á fi iṣẹ́ yẹn á fi pè owó jáde.
God has given her a kind of knowledge that is beyond human understanding. Despite that, you cannot make use of hand to write and painting, but you can use a leg to paint very well. And by the time she has finished the painting, people just be looking at her that you see the one that has done it. Even majority normally argue, especially the visitor, that they don't normally believe that she's the one until when she started doing it in their presence. That's the time they go to believe. And people that used to come here, they normally appreciate her by try as much as possible to buy some of her painting.
If you look at so many of my paintings, it's based on nature. Why I say so is that, you know, God is the greatest artist, and everything He did is perfect. And if you look at the sky day by day, you think there's so many beauty.
But just how did Toma discover this giftedness of hers?
Actually, it was a friend of mine that bring out the gift in me. She saw me feeding the children with my leg. So she said, we can do something better than feeding the children with my leg. So she was the one that God used for me.
With the help of an assistant assembling her painting tools, Toma demonstrates her painting skills while sharing the emotions and relief painting brings to her.
Sometimes I don't believe that I was the one that did it. It's a little bit difficult for me to believe that the works are done by me. My own painting gets me an assurance that I can still give back to society. Why I say so is that, you know, when I was still much younger, I thought I'm not useful. Let me use it, because I could not use the art and every other thing. So I was just thinking that, how are you going to do this?
Toma shares her challenges, not focusing on it as a stumbling block, but She sets the tone on the positive as she reveals the hurdles of her life's journey.
According to a proverb that said, no pain, no gain about life. Life is full of challenges, and the more we live, the more we see them around. Talking about the challenges, the first time in school, I will never forget it. At the first time in school, I went to Akoka Junior High School, or junior school. But the first time I went to that school, when I went to go meet the principal, that I went with some of the staff here, and when we got there, the principal does not know that I understand Yoruba. He said something that, why do they bring someone like her to school? And that she's not supposed to be in school. All she needs is just for you to put her somewhere to be eating until God says. I have to say something that, sir, may the good Lord have mercy on you. He was shocked. He could not believe that I heard what he said. I just thank God for the owner of the challenges, because he owns the key to every challenge. And he makes a way when there seems to be no way. I give glory to God, because if not for him, I don't know what could have happened to me. So many challenges. And, there's this thing that keeps me going that said, if there's no challenges, there will not be testimony. I faced a lot.
In spite of Toma's visible challenges, Toma has a positive outlook towards life and the people she comes in contact with. Her caregiver and one of her teachers reveal the other aspects of Toma.
Toma jẹ́ ọmọ kan tó jẹ́ pé kọ̀ra mọ́yàn, ó dẹ̀ kó gbogbo ìyànjú, kò kọ́ra, ó ń bọ́mọdé ṣe, ó ń bá gbà ṣe, gbogbo àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ gan, ó ní ibi kọ̀ọ̀kan tó ti máa ń dùn wọn nú. Ó jẹ́ pé èèyàn tó jẹ́ pé bó ṣe wà yẹn kò mọ bó ṣe hide feelings ẹ̀ tí nǹkan bá ti ń dùn bá ó máa sọ ń pé alágbádá bá ó dẹ̀ ṣẹ̀ mí o, ó dẹ̀ ti tán nínú ẹ̀, kò mọ bó ṣe ń báyàn yànjú. Ó jẹ́ ọmọ alálùbáríkà, mo gbàdúrà kọ́lọ́ bá mi pèsè ọkọ alálùbáríkà fún kọ́lọ́ iṣẹ́ kó má di ṣẹ̀mọ̀ lọ́wọ́.
She's the type that wants just to move close because of behavior, attitude, characters, and the kind of love that she used to show to people. The way God has created her, we thank God because it's unquestionable God. I just thank God for her life because despite the fact that her disability, she can prove to the whole world that she can still do certain things as far as her condition is being concerned. She loves everybody because I recollect that yearly as a staff of this school, especially women, I don't know, maybe it's doing it with the women too, she used to present us a gift as men in this school, no matter how token it is.
She tells me the place of God in her life, making her achieve more than she can imagine.
God is my strength. God is a wonderful God that despite what you're going through, you will surely find a way to make you smile. You will surely find. Though the world may tell you that you are not this, you are not that. But as long as you have this God, you will surely find a way to make you happy. My strength is from God. My joy is from God. Everything is from God. Despite everything that you're going through, everybody goes through a lot in this country, Nigeria. All you just need to tell yourself is that I can make it. I can do it. And just keep on smiling. By the time God works, you won't know. You will just be asking yourself, is it me? Am I wrong? Just put your trust in God and try to do the little things that you know how to do. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on God, especially if you give up on yourself, people will give up on you.
And what's more, this 28-year-old lady challenged once again the thought of entertaining self-pity.
I used to feel pity for myself, but not anymore, because God has given me the strength. God has shown me that despite my challenges, I can still go places. by giving me the opportunity to paint with my leg, by giving me the opportunity to show that there is ability in disability.
Well, not much is known about the condition data-wise, and so according to a 2018 article from The Guardian, there are more than 100,000 cases of cerebral palsy in Nigeria, with most affected individuals in need of care due to cerebral palsy effect on functional abilities. But more alarming is a recent data according to Benola Initiative, an initiative aimed at creating awareness on cerebral palsy in Nigeria. The condition affects 17 million persons worldwide and over 700,000 aimed at creating awareness on cerebral palsy in Nigeria. Data claims a huge number of people live with cerebral palsy. What is more unnerving is that over 700,000 aimed at creating awareness on cerebral palsy in Nigeria. Data claims a huge number of people live with cerebral palsy. What is more unnerving is that over 700,000 aimed at creating awareness on cerebral palsy. Data claims a huge number of people live with what is more emotional and how her journey to and how having a degree whereas data claims a huge number of people with what is more emotional and how her journey.
Something that God should give me joy. That's what all the challenges. The day that I finished my NC program, you would have thought that day, I would just sit in the hostel, start screaming, start shouting, start singing. But on the day that I finished my NC, I was just like, are you sure that I finished? You finished? Are you sure that I finished? A friend always said, oh, we're to marry girl. I said, are you sure that it is Toma? She said it is you. So the day that I finished, I did my last paper. I said, do I have another paper? I was just asking myself, that do I have another paper? They said no. And since from the exam up to my hostel, I was just shouting. I can't believe it that it was me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was great.
High five.
Thank you. Oh, high five! Woo! This is beautiful. Let me again. Thank you so very much for having us.